When was the last time there was a jihad declared against a foreign government and the expansion of Muslim lands into non-Muslim lands?
The final line of that verse in the Quran is, "To you is your faith, and to me is mine." Are you aware of that chapter in the Quran, and are you aware of the teachings of tolerance the Quran and the Hadith and the Sunnah have taught us for centuries?
Okay, I'd like to answer that.
Unfortunate non-believers, we're given three choices.
Point of information. When was the last time there was a jihad declared against a foreign government and the expansion of Muslim lands into non-Muslim lands? When was the last time?
What?
Okay, I'd like to answer that. I think he's trying to say, an actual formal government like Saudi Arabia, or, an actual state that's acknowledged. And he's trying to say, well, when's the last time that Islam declared an offensive jihad to conquer? Because, by the way, that is the true meaning of jihad. The ultimate meaning is it's offensive. It's expansionary, which I think is what he was saying earlier, that Islam is expansionary, which it is through jihad. So I think the questioner is saying, well, when's the last time that even happened? And my response is, what difference does that make? No Muslim country is in any position to go on an expansionary jihad. That's why it's not happening. In fact, according to the classical understanding of Islam, jihad is obligatory, and nations and caliphates and sultanates are to expand, but only when they can and when it's realistic, and when circumstances are such that it's opportune for them to actually invade their neighbors in the name of jihad. That's been the name of the game. It's always been like that. But if you can't, if your enemy, the infidel, is more powerful than you, well, then you don't go on a jihad. You make a truce and you wait for a better time. So the fact that no modern Islamic country has declared jihad in any given time, that actually just makes perfect sense. That is in keeping with Islamic thinking and Sharia. They're not supposed to, because it would be suicide. Imagine, I don't know, the new government of Syria declares a formal jihad, and it gives, it tells America, we're going to give you three options: convert, or pay tribute, jizya, or we're going to kill you. That doesn't make sense, does it? Or to any European country. So within Islam itself, it's not like you're a foaming at the mouth jihadist, rabid maniac, and you have to declare jihad anywhere, anytime. No, you're supposed to do it reasonably and logically. And if Muslim countries or nations or caliphates, there isn't even a caliphate. So technically, these modern states aren't obligated to go on jihad. So it's a moot and distracting point, obviously. Let's continue.
Notably, within those three options that Islam offers you, there is not one option which says, let's live in peaceful coexistence as equals in a pluralistic society. Not once. Not once does it say that.
I'm certain you are aware that there is an entire chapter in the Quran, a chapter called O Disbelievers. The final line of that verse in the Quran is, "To you is your faith, and to me is mine." Are you aware of that chapter in the Quran, and are you aware of the teachings of tolerance the Quran and the Hadith and the Sunnah have taught us for centuries?
Christian follow. Thank you. I'm just going to explain to you, one of the reasons why I didn't want to start quoting Quran verses was because I didn't want to come here and start talking about, it says here that you chop people's heads off, it says here that you do that, and it says here that you do that. I'm sure that there are very, very, very many verses in the Quran that talk about peace and love and happiness. It's just all we get is the bombs, the running over, the knives and the beheadings. So I'll move on if that's all right. Thank you very much. I'm done. Move on. Thank you very much. So I've said, notably, peaceful coexistence with non-Muslims is not.
All right. This requires a little opining. So this woman comes up and says, whoa, but there's other Quran verses. I'm sure. I mean, all he basically said is he was talking about the militancy and how there is no coexistence in Islam between Muslims and non-Muslims on an equal level. Yeah, of course, absolutely true. There is no such thing at all. Okay, at best, you are a dhimmi, you pay tribute, you know your place, and you do not have the equal rights that a Muslim subject does. And immediately she jumps up, oh, but what about this verse? This is one of the most tired arguments that anyone can engage in, this cherry picking. Oh, look at this verse. As I think he's just indicating, and I'm sorry, I don't know these people's names too well. Okay, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not very good with names. Okay. Anyway, this gentleman who is correct, it's pointless to look at Quran verses constantly, because if all you want to do is look at verses, you can find anything. It's in there. This is why it's a science, they call it, Muslims. And the learned ones, the ulama, they're the scientists, because there's a whole science to understand what is the true message of the Quran. We can talk about abrogation, for example, how, later verses abrogate, cancel earlier verses. And that's one of the primary arguments, which is basically all the later verses are the beheadings and the expansion and the violence and the subjugation. Quran 9:5, for example, is said to have abrogated over 120 peaceful verses. And Quran 9:5 is probably the most militant one, which says basically anytime you find the mushrikeen, which means polytheists, okay, just lay in wait for them, ambush, kill them, enslave them, and just destroy them. And there's other more violent verses too, like 9:29. Anyway, that argument that woman made is really pathetic, which is, oh, I'm sure you've read that verse. Well, and anyway,